Welcome to the Indigo Podcast, an exploration of human flourishing at work and beyond. I'm Ben Baran of Indigo Anchor and Cleveland State University.
And I'm Chris Everett of Indigo Anchor. For more information, please visit us at www.indigopodcast.com.
Hey everybody, today is November 8th, 2021, and if you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you likely remember that around this time last year, my family experienced a tremendous tragedy. Our 7-year-old son, Vincent, was hit and killed when he was riding his bicycle on a sidewalk, and someone was pulling out of a parking lot, and he was struck and killed. And, in the year that has followed since then, it's been very challenging for my family, of course. We're hanging in there. But one thing that we wanted to talk about today is the Vincent William Baran Day of Service, which was an idea that my wife and I both had actually independently in the months after Vincent's death as a way to commemorate and to spread additional empathy and joy and a fierce passion for life as far as we could. And this was an event that we had on September 25th, 2021, was the inaugural Vincent William Baran Day of Service. And Chris, you were there for it. Today, I thought we could just maybe talk a little bit about that day of service and the value of service in general and what it does for us personally and what it does for society, and encourage people out there to get involved in whatever type of service they can to help make their communities better. And hey, while you're at it, why not get involved with the Vincent William Baran Day of Service next year, right?
Yeah, and Ben, the website, what's the website for that day of service?
Yeah, if anyone's interested in everything related to the day of service, as well as just general stuff about my son, it's mightyvincent.org. So you can check out mightyvincent.org to learn all about it. And this is an effort, an initiative that we're planning to do every single year, and we want to spread this as far as we can. I want this to be a day on which we all do something to make our world better. And that's how we think we can best honor our son's legacy.
Yeah, when your best friend's son is killed, I don't know the playbook for that one, honestly. It was challenging for me. And so when I saw the day of service evolving with you guys, then I said, okay, well, this is going to be awesome. What a catharsis and memorialization and all that. And then it's like 300 people and you're turning people away because so many people are signed. And you're like, oh yeah, I think we'll sign up. What? How many 100 people were you planning for?
Yeah, we were planning on starting small, and we were like, hey, we'll see what happens. And what did happen is that we had 300 plus people sign up for in-person service projects all around Northeast Ohio. We had people setting up their own service projects all over the country, which was amazing. And we had about 400 people show up at a walk that was actually part of a nationwide walk that happens every year around that time through the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. And that walk was designed to raise money for the poor and vulnerable of the area, it was amazing. We did a toy and shoe and boot and glove collection where people, donated these items. And I tell you what, it was amazing. We actually had some leftover donations that needed to go down to the center in downtown Akron, Ohio, that I had to take down there the other day.
You're going to start small. So it's like, listen, what was cool about this, what I thought was cool, it wasn't, hey, we're going to set up our own foundation and do stuff. It was everybody's going to plus up all the different nonprofits and charities and different stuffs anywhere. And especially there in, the greater Hudson area, Cleveland, Akron. And it plussed up, through volunteer work. And it wasn't just, hey, write a check. No, this was something where you guys were deliberately getting people off their couches and raising money through a walk and also doing a bunch of charity events. And small. I mean, Ben, starting off small with like 300-400 people. I don't know. That seems kind of big to me. And it was so big. I don't think, Ben, you captured everybody because people showed up at the charity place I was working at. and they were like, "Oh, this was twice the amount of people we were expecting."
Yeah, maybe we did underestimate, but as I was starting to say is, I took some of the items that we had left over that I had to take it down last Saturday, and it's just amazing to get out of your bubble once in a while, right? And to go see how the truly poor and vulnerable people in our society live, and to help them is a tremendous gift, not just to them, but it's also to yourself in a lot of ways. And so, yeah, it was a quite a day, and I think that there's perhaps a lesson for everyone out there in terms of, I just think there's a lot of value in trying to make the world a better place, and there are many opportunities to do that.
Yeah, it's funny because people feel so despondent. The world's going to garbage. Look, it's on TV. And it's like, I don't know if these guys binge watch too much Lord of the Rings, where they feel like just them and their couple of friends are going to have to go to Mordor and huck a ring in the volcano. Or maybe they watch too much West Wing or something, where if we make the right policy, we might avert nuclear global disaster. And guys, you got to get out of that fantasy land. The miracles and the magic that makes the world better happen in your backyard. And you don't need permission from a politician or any kind of larger governing body to do it. If you're feeling despondent and depressed about how the world is right now, let me tell you, there's help for you. Get off your couch and stop watching dystopian shows and movies on Netflix, and get out there and fix the dystopia in your backyard.
Right. And one thing that I think I learned and got to experience firsthand in planning this whole event was, if you want to get involved with a nonprofit, with a charity in your area, and perhaps this is different in other countries, I really don't know, but at least in the United States, if you go to the website of a nonprofit, most of the time, depending on the type of nonprofit, there's a tab on that website for volunteers. And it's pretty easy within a couple clicks of your mouse to figure out what that nonprofit does and how you could potentially get involved. And you could contact them and say, "Hey, what's going on? I'd like to do something." Maybe it's just something where you go periodically to help out a couple hours a month, or whatever, even if it's just even less, less frequent than that. I think that there's just so many opportunities. And like you said, we have to stop waiting for other people to do stuff. We are the change that needs to happen in the world. And if you can't change what's going on in your own mind, and if you can't change your own behavior, how do you expect the world to change? We have to stop abdicating that responsibility to the government, to these jackwagon politicians, to people out there who, we just think that they should do something. Well, you're an adult. Go do something yourself.
Yeah, the world needs more than a thumbs up. I'm glad somebody else did this charity event. I liked it on Facebook, so I was like I was there. Right. And get out and do stuff. And, involvement in community organizations is down.
Mm.
And I think we're more bankrupt for it.
Yeah.
And just think about Christmas in your own house. If you've got kids, what do? If you're the Santa Claus believing type or whatever, you set up some mystique. You go buy the gifts. You lay stuff out. You make it magic for the people in your family. And there's a community magic that we can make for each other by going out. I mean, every tearjerker on the Hallmark Channel has somebody doing something good for somebody. And we get choked up, which is good. That means we're not dead inside yet, it's good. And we get choked up because it's the magic. And you can go make that magic every day with the people around you.
Right. And, it shouldn't take some extraordinary event going on in your life, or somebody else necessarily organizing something to happen for you to get out there and do it. I think there are just, again, so many opportunities to do it. So, an action point, right? If you're feeling bad about how the world is, go out there and volunteer. Do something good for someone else. By the way, the psychological research is fairly clear that if you do all of this, you're going to feel better about yourself. So, if you want to give yourself some therapy, along the way, guess what? Helping other people is a way to do some of that. Now, it's not going to fix everything for you, but it is an uplifting experience. When you get out there. Another thing that I think is important is I come across, and I think I just get this sense from certain groups of people where perhaps they view their way of giving back to the world as donating money. And that's fine. Like, it's good to, I think it's great. Give it all away, right? That's fine. And it's necessary and it's helpful for organizations because they do need the cash. But there's something different between giving money, which is, if you have the money, it's easy, and actually getting out there and interacting with other people and getting out there and seeing how other people live. I think there's tremendous value in that, and I would advocate for more of it.
Yeah, and for the hard charging psychopaths that listen to our show, right? Hey, listen, if you get involved with really quality nonprofits, you're going to meet really quality I can't tell you how many high level C-suite executives and stuff that I've met out in the charity and nonprofit landscape, either sitting on boards of directors. Now, obviously, they're good people, so they'll know you're a psychopath. So you might need to work on your psychopathology first. But if you really are saying, like, I feel stuck. I feel like my network is small. I want to move into different areas. I don't feel like my boss or my organization is set up to see the value that I can contribute. Selfishly, get out there. There's nonprofits. I can't tell you how many nonprofits I've been to that have wonderful boards, but also a lot that have substandard boards that need help. They need your leadership and idea and project management and all of these kinds of things. If you get out there on a board, and you're going to have full exposure and stuff that you would have to probably work 15, 20 years in a corporate organization to get. Right? Oh, hey, somebody needs to run this project. Great. I just got my PMP. This will be a great time for me to do a project and be able to show maybe jobs that I'm applying to that I can run projects. Nope, there wasn't an opportunity for me to do a project within my organization. So I joined 2 nonprofits and I ran the following projects, and they generated this result, this many people touched. You immediately get exposure to at-bats at stuff that you might not get in your org. And you can get, this is the cool thing, mentored by high-level executives and other pillars of your community. And they'll know, they're like, oh, that's Filson. Filson's a good guy. He's out here all the time. Filson, what do I got to do to poach you out of your organization and have you work for mine? Because I've seen your character. I've seen your good works out in the community, and I know your character and integrity, and I know you can freaking deliver like a champ because I've seen how smart you are, how good you are at fundraising, project management, team delegation, all of those things. So many people are waiting, Ben, for their first junior manager role, and it's like the Office Space thing where they're like, you can be in charge of 1, maybe 2 people. I'm saying if you get out into the nonprofit and charity landscape, you can run projects with hundreds of people before you're even 26, 27. If you got the gumptions to do it, and you'll get mentored along the way.
Absolutely. And if you are wondering, okay, how do I get involved perhaps from that angle, right? So we started off talking about just volunteering to, do good. And if you really want to do a lot of good and perhaps build your resume along the way, well, that's where I think you likely would start as a volunteer, right? So many boards of nonprofits, if they have some volunteers who are just amazing, they may start thinking about those volunteers as potential board members, right? Now, every nonprofit probably has kind of a different profile of who they're looking for on their boards. And that's something that you can kind of figure out by learning who their board members are. Most of these organizations have that posted on their website. And, so kind of getting a sense for how they operate that way. You can also talk to some board members, if you have been volunteering for a while and maybe you get in touch with some various board members, learning a little bit more about the board. And then the way it oftentimes happens, at least so I'm on a board right now, a very high functioning board, wonderful group of people, the USS Cleveland Legacy Foundation. We'll put a link to that in the show notes too. But, they the way that we work that in terms of how we acquire new board members, because we do periodically want to bring on new people, it's not every day, right? It happens every couple of years. We do that through the governance and nominations committee. So there are different committees within a board. So I happen to be the chair of that committee on our board. And so we work with vetting different people and trying to bring in the talent that we might need on that board. Now, this is all unpaid stuff, right? You can't use a nonprofit board position to start making money for yourself. That's a big no-no. At the same time, you're going to meet some wonderful people and gain some great experience, and ideally do some really good work along the way.
I know I was discouraged junior portions of my career because I felt like I saw nothing but slime bags in leadership positions. And then I'd look to my left and right, and they'd become backstabbing jackwagons as well, because that's how you swam in some of these toxic cultures that were out there. You want to find the good people. And I like to believe that our listeners are those kinds of, they're good people trying to, do good things like we are. And when you're in that nonprofit landscape and space, I mean, I have met a few slime bags for sure, but mostly it's good people. And you want to build and fill your network of advice, of support, of community with those kinds of people. So when you need a referral for a job, or all those kinds of things are part of it. But it becomes this virtuous cycle where, hey, you find good people and select good people in your relationships and your circle. You do good works, which leads to meeting more people, which means, and then all of a sudden you have so much people wealth, community wealth in your life that it's hard for you to fall too far on your face, even when the economy's bad, even when things are going, if you have something going on in your family, like if you need support, like maybe there's a death in your family, all those kinds of things. We focus so much on material wealth. When did you break 6 figures or whatever, that we miss out on a super important part of our lives, which is building the people part of our wealth. There is a wealth of togetherness that can be had, but it doesn't come for free. You actually got to go out and earn it.
You do. And that's where we're, coming back to this theme of taking action. I think most people, at least our listeners, recognize the gap between where our world should be and where it is. And in order to close that gap, there are things that need to happen. And I think just waiting for them to happen is the wrong answer. Going back to the Vincent William Baran Day of Service, the inaugural Day of Service that we held on September 25th, 2021, we did a lot of work to put that together. And it was hard in some ways, just organizing different things and going back and forth on different things. But, seeing the good that came out of that was really rewarding. And now we're going to create this thing that we hope to continue to grow over the years, to have not only be a positive influence in my geographical area, but around the country and around the world even. We had already, this year, we had friends who were in South Carolina and Texas, and you came out to visit me, but your family, they actually did a project out in Utah, which was amazing. And we had another group of friends out in Salt Lake City who did a project, which was really great. And a whole host of others around the country, which was amazing. So, if anything else, I just want our listeners from this episode to really feel empowered to go out there and do good in their world, because goodness knows we need it.
Yeah, and these things, I mean, it's hard to make. Remember the Kilmer episode with Derek Kilmer, Ben? You remember that episode? Yeah.
So first of all, Derek Kilmer is a congressman from the state of Washington. He's the chair of the Select Committee on the Modernization of Congress. Go check out that episode if you haven't already.
He is doing earth-shattering stuff that's going to change the entire world. But because it doesn't have somebody fighting or an explosion, like he doesn't get invited on a lot of television stations to talk about. Like he's doing amazing. Yeah, he does amazing work. But he's not going to the Met Gala with something scandalous written on the back of his dress or something, right? So, and it's hard. Like we were talking about doing this episode here, and it's just a short one that we're doing. And it's like, how do you make this exciting? Do we have an explosion? It's like, listeners of this episode that hear the letter 3 4 times write in and can get a grenade mailed to their house. This stuff doesn't happen, right? There's nothing we can do to make this exciting as something that hacks you off on Facebook. And that's what's wrong with society, right? We can't be turning to the drama and the horrible garbage. We've eaten enough of that junk food over the last, decades of this American century. And it's time to start writing the stories that we want to hear. No, I don't want my kid to have to go to Mordor to destroy a wing to save the planet. I want them to have a balanced, well-rounded, healthy marriage relationship if that's something they choose. I want their kids to, not like the kids I saw in Afghanistan, worry about having to get blown up while they're walking to school. And that stuff comes, wonderful life that's full of wealth, comes with regular people doing the magical, regular things in their community. We don't need some kind of PhD from the Kennedy School, to solve these problems. We see a problem in our community. We can partner with other smart people that have a lot of experience doing the work and start doing it now.
And this is part of the tradition of America. This was, a unique feature noted by Alexis de Tocqueville in his book, Democracy in America. He was a French gentleman who was trying to figure out what's going on over there. And he noted that for some odd reason, people didn't wait around for other people to fix their problems or for the government to fix their problems. They had voluntary associations with each other. They got together and organized and fixed stuff. And they did that through social institutions. And, I think that's a real strength that we do have. But guess what? It doesn't keep going without effort. Without effort, without intentionality, like any good thing, it will fade away.
Yeah. So I don't know, Ben, what do we want to leave these guys with?
Well, I suppose that get out there and volunteer, do something with a nonprofit in the next 2 months. That's my challenge to you. The next challenge I have to you, number 2, go to mightyvincent.org and check out what we did for the day of service. If you are interested in learning more about that, you can sign up for, put your email in there. And hey, what if every September, it'll probably be like a late September thing every year. What if every year on that day, we had hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people across the entire United States and maybe even the world doing something amazing on that day, for a couple hours, going out and spreading some joy, being empathetic with their fellow humans, doing something that demonstrates some fierce passion for life. I really think that we can make the world so much better.
So much better.
Thanks for listening to the Indigo Podcast. If you like this podcast, please consider helping us by rating us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, telling your friends about us, having us on your podcast, or mentioning us on social media. Our website is www.indigopodcast.com, where you can access more information about us and this episode. Thanks again, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.